Hey guys, welcome back to Maury's Music, and hope you guys are enjoying the middle, I guess I should say, of NAMM Believe in Music Week. This is probably one of the most exciting episodes I'll ever do because I get to talk about new Martin guitars coming out any minute now with some really cool people from Martin Guitar. I want to remind you guys that cool music you were listening to is Spoon Phillips' Lost in Haunted Ways. Do go to your local record store right after the show, or you could always go to tspguitar.com. Tell them Uncle Maury sent you. But we always play this kind of stuff on the program, and it's really good. Today we're going to be talking about a lot of new Martin guitars that were just announced over the past 2 or 3 days. Those of you guys in the industry would know this is the time of year where NAMM, the big trade show, would happen in Anaheim, California. With all that's going on in the world, we can't be out there literally, but NAMM is doing all they can to bring all that excitement and all the booths and all the long walks from California to your living room wherever you are. And all the hip manufacturers, all the cool kids, they're taking part as well. And Martin did not take a year off. They didn't use this as an excuse to not bring any products to market. They were quite busy. And over the last few days, they leaked out a couple of secrets every couple of hours. We have two really big shots here from Martin Guitar. I landed some big fish for you guys. And I want to welcome one at a time. Please welcome Brenden from Martin Guitar is going to be on first. Brenden, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Oh, applause. I love it. Thank you, Maury. It's great. It's great to be here, and I'm glad we can do this in place of some of the traditional things that you've done to show your customers new products, and also for us. Not being at the show is tough. It's different. I want you to feel bad for me because I'm not in 70-degree weather in Anaheim. I'm here in Pennsylvania, but you're right up the street. But it's great to be here, and I'm excited to be able to talk about the new products and to bring the next guy on, who's frankly the reason I brought him on is because he's just such a great storyteller. So he'll have some fun stuff to share with us.
I have heard, and I think you're talking about Skip Beltz from Martin Guitar. Skip, what's up?
Hey. How you doing?
Very well.
How you doing, everybody out there? I guess I'm going to have to tell a story with that lead in. But Maury, thank you for having us, and thank you everybody that's joined. It's always a pleasure to get with some of our great dealers and talk about Martins and what we do. And it's fun that that old saying or adage. If you love what you do, it's not work. It does work. I don't think it's true.
I'll tell you, a lot of people say that about me, and I'm starting to believe it because you put your head down and you go to work every day and you work hard, and 20 years goes by, and I've always told people owning your own business is just exhausting, but a 12-hour day doing this feels better than a 6-hour day at some place I didn't want to be. So I guess I have to agree with you there. And I want to thank both of you guys. I know on a week like this, you guys are stretched in millions of different directions. When I asked Brenden to come on and help us out, he didn't only say yes, he said, I'm bringing somebody. And I said, well, it's got to be one of my heroes. And I named 2 or 3, and you were at the top of the list. So, but if you could,
Thanks.
Before we get too deep into it, I want to ask you guys just for a minute. Brenden, you go first. Just tell our viewers, who you are and what you're doing with Martin Guitar and what your role is in this video.
All right. As Skip and Maury said, what we get to do is pretty exciting. We could. There's lots of important things. There are many things that are more important than guitars, but for us musicians and those who just like to tinker around with guitars, it's really fun stuff. So I've been with the company for going on 22 years. I've done a number of different things in there, from starting out in telesales, strings and accessories. Did some work in research and development, which I can't talk about at all. But a little bit of production, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I was previously a sales events manager, and currently I'm a sales manager for a district or territory of states, and that includes the wonderful home state of mine, Pennsylvania, and right up the street is, about a half hour from Maury, but up in Coaldale, a little bit north of us, we got Maury up there, so excited to be here and share some stories with you.
Well, thank you, Brenden. Skip, what's your deal?
So currently, he's there 22 years. I beat him by a little bit, but Brenden and I have been around the block for for a long time we've worked together in different roles for quite a long time. But I come from manufacturing. I've done a lot of things in the manufacturing environment and worked my way up through the ranks. Was plant manager for about 10 years. And then I transitioned to the sales side of doing product management stuff. So I'm currently director of product management. I don't necessarily report into sales, but a lot of what I do is helping sales, working with sales from a product expert side. And my hands are deep into the guitars. It's really what's fun for me. It's what drives me. I have a lot of passion for the guitar and also the process behind it. And for any one of you that have been to the factory, we still haven't figured out how to put that scent into a candle, although I heard somebody did. But we haven't heard it. But that feeling you get when you come into the factory is what we get every day, and I try personally not to take it for granted.
Awesome. Well, let me say a quick hello to the chat. Roeth's here, Rosalind, Aaron, Short Music. Speaking of smelling and scent, Aaron is the pioneer behind the Sound Hole Sniffer. I get.
Well, Aaron might have been to the factory once or twice, right?
All right. Of all the people in the chat, I think he might bug Skip more than others, but that's only because you guys are good friends. Bob Dobson's here from Washington. He's a famous caretaker of Sasquatch. If you guys don't watch the Aaron Short show on Monday, you wouldn't recognize all 45 of those influences. BMO is here. Philip Watson. Philip Watson's taking a week off of buying brand new guitars. I think every time he watches these programs, he brings something home. Thank you very much for that. Mark, Jack Wickwire's here. Jeannie's here. Let's get right into it, and what we're going to do our best to take a look at the chat while we go through the program. If we do miss a very good question, please consider re-emailing it to me after the show, Maury@maurysmusic.com. If there's something you want to know that these guys can help answer, even if we don't get to it in real time, please do know that all three of us want to make an effort, even if it goes a little bit long, and we'll do our best to keep talking and not reading. Let us know what we've missed, and we definitely want to help you out if we can. The first guitar on the docket is something that I'm actually getting more excited about by the day. I was on Aaron's program Monday, but I wasn't the only one. Robert Getzel took over the show, and he actually spent a good amount of time describing soup to nuts the way this whole thing went down. Let's take a look at OOL Earth, and I'm going to let you go first, Brenden. What can you tell me about this guitar and why it's important in times like this?
Yeah, so we'll save the good stories for later, and of course having Robert Getzel on, man, what better than that to talk about this guitar? So Robert did the real painting on this, and then we transfer that to the guitar. Why is this important? This is an FSC certified guitar, and everybody out there in virtual land, you've probably seen that logo. Even if you go into one of the major home improvement stores and you get a paint stick, often they'll say FSC certification on them. And what that means is that basically, us in the guitar world, in the lumber world, all of that, we need to be concerned about where these resources are coming from. And we're talking about some woods that come from South America and the rainforest, and we want to make sure that we're getting these things appropriately. So we have a whole team of people on the inside that literally, not lately, but literally will travel the world, go to some of these locations, and ensure that the wood is coming from sustainable sources. And sustainability is more than just, do I chop the tree down, do I not chop the tree down? It's everything about the community as well. So you get into things like, we want to make sure that there aren't little kids running around with chainsaws and working to get that tree down. It's a whole slew of things, and it's all really important. One of the questions we get asked sometimes is, hey, I saw this other guitar and it comes from another part of the world, and it's got a really nice top on it. How did they do that? And this guitar is only this price. Let's just say that our ability and desire to do this properly and go through the proper channels and vet everything out and make sure that they are truly sustainable sources is second to none. We go to great lengths to make sure that those things are happening properly. So this guitar, although we've been doing FSC certification for a long time, that was sometimes just one piece. Maybe the back was FSC, or the ribbon lining was FSC certified. Now we're getting closer and closer to entire instruments being certified. And just quick little tidbit, and then I'll let Skip jump in. But I remember when I started at Martin, going down into the acclimating room, and you'll probably, this will strike a bell with you, Maury. You'd go down and you'd see these purple tags, and they were on certain piles of wood. And it used to be that, it was only this many piles of wood that had the purple tag. Now, it's this many piles of wood that have the purple tag. And the purple tag has to do with FSC certification. So that was always an interesting reminder for me about how not just the desire, but the ability to increase that certification and responsibility changed over the course of my tenure there.
That's
Skip?
a good point.
Well, it's hard to follow that. That was pretty good. I'm gonna just answer a question real quick. Will the Earth guitar also be made in a dreadnought? Right now, it's just this 00L version. In the future, maybe, and we'll take that into consideration. And certainly, with the folks that I work with and Chris Martin, I'll mention that comment and keep it in mind, because I do have some input in that. And Brenden covered it pretty well. I like the comment that he made. You see those, I won't mention the brand names, but you see those much lower priced instruments with what is supposed to be, or called out as, really straight grain Adirondack, what looks like to be a premium top. But where is it from? We want to make sure that the wood that we're purchasing has the proper documentation and paperwork. Hey, you can still go out and get Brazilian rosewood if you want to skirt some of those issues. We don't. And we want to promote that we're interested in responsible harvesting and making sure that we can do our part. We need trees to build guitars, so some people might think that it's a bit of irony. It's really not. If you're going to go into a forest and select trees for logs, you don't have to cut them all down. And we want to make sure our partners, or we're partnering with folks that do that. And the short story that I'll tell, that maybe Robert Getzel didn't, is this idea spawned from a conversation Chris Martin had with Reverb Nation. We've had them at our NAMM show booth the past couple of years in Anaheim. The first year we were giving away water, because people always come to our booth and say, do you have any water? And that was a little bit crowded. So last year, kind of changed it up, and we gave away water bottles. Nice containers. It had the logo from Reverb Nation on it. What Reverb Nation does is they take guitars and they go to high profile concerts or artists, and they try to get them to sign the guitar, the top of the guitar, or the case as well. Then they take those guitars to auction. They've had people like John Mayer and Paul McCartney, and the list is really loaded with high profile artists. When they sell them, those proceeds go back into conserving the environment. So that was really where Chris got the idea, because they said, well, do you have a guitar that would be like really cool if we were to buy it and try to do this process that we do? And Chris was like, let me try to take that idea and spawn it into a guitar. And this is what came out of it. Robert Getzel, who's a great guy, love him. I'm good friends with him. He's done a lot of cool stuff with us, and he already had some ideas in his head, and this is what we ended up getting.
Nice. Well, if you guys would like more information on that guitar, please let us know. You can always visit our website, maurysmusic.com, or shoot me an email, maury@maurysmusic.com. And I believe these guitars will be arriving, if not Friday, maybe Monday. Of course, I'm kidding. You gotta wait. You gotta be patient.
Ooh, you scared me, Maury.
You guys are doing a really good job at the factory.
I was just gonna say,
I mean,
yeah, woof.
I could be off by a couple months, but the moral of the story: all these guitars we're going to show you today are not coming around the corner. Please show show us that you like the idea, but be patient, because Martin is still, it's you can't just shut down for 4 or 5 months and then snap your fingers. So please be patient, but they are on their way. I can tell you that they've all been ordered, and we just have to wait and see how things are going to trickle down. But thank you very much for showing your interest. The next instrument is a lot like
Maury,
that guitar.
Sorry to interrupt. There's one thing that I don't think we mentioned, and this is coming from the sales guy, but this is the honest truth. This is a limited edition guitar, and the orders are going pretty well. I'm not saying it's going to sell out tomorrow, but there's a lot of interest in this one. So I just want to let your customers know that if you're really interested in this guitar, you need to let Maury know ASAP.
Thank you. That's a good point.
And I'll just point out that the past certified models that we've done have been more expensive. And when you contribute with certified woods, they're more expensive. Conservation doesn't always mean less expensive. So the question about the Dreadnought that came up, the reason why we selected the 00L is that we already had it in a 17 platform, and we could get it more affordable to the consumer, and that was really the impetus. And it made it a little bit more difficult for us to want to quickly proliferate. But if we get up to that, and Brendan's right, it's limited because we wanted to use the word earth. We had to get approval because the word earth is used for a lot of things. So if we get up close to 500, the theme is not going to go away. We're going to relaunch a second one, and maybe it should be a Dreadnought, right? So once we get close, we'll remind the world that we're close, and we're going to cut this theme off at 500. Maybe we relaunch the same picture on a Dreadnought.
Keyword maybe. All right, you heard it here first.
Sometimes when you go limited edition, it constricts sales, and other times it helps. The David Gilmour, there's only 250 for the world, so they sold out quick. But there's been times we did higher numbers and we don't hit that number. So I'm hopeful that this one has the right depiction on it, that the story is good. The guitar sounds great, so hopefully we can get there.
Excellent. Please let us know if we have another Earth question. We're going to go through the list of guitars now. Don't feel afraid. You can keep asking questions about the guitars we're going past, but please let us know if anything else we could help you connect you with any better information. The next guitar is extremely similar. It's the Grand J12 16. And I'm being very sarcastic. This is probably it might be the one I want to see the most. I watched that Craig Thatcher video 6 or 7 times from the museum, and
Maury,
I typically.
I was going to ask, do you play much 12 string? I don't know. I know you play a lot, but
man, that makes me want to.
But he
this
will now.
This guitar, and this isn't a sales pitch. So we were in the midst of the pandemic, and I had to get the guitars because only manufacturing workers could be in there. So I had to get the guitars when they were completed, could pass off, get them for photographs. My youngest son started playing. He's got to be quite good, and he's out of Penn State. He's got friends that play. So he noticed it was a little bigger. So what's that? I said, well, you got to check this out. But I didn't know that he had started playing 12 string. And I mean, I can play, but I haven't really. Can't say I ever owned a 12 string. This guitar sounds incredible. It's hands down the best 12 string I've ever heard. Well, I am a little partial to the David Gilmour, but this guitar is incredible in terms of the way it sounds. It takes a lot to blow me away. I've been there 28 years. I've heard thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands actually.
Right.
And this one, it's a gem.
Wow. Can you comment about the actual fact that it's not a very deep body? The video that I saw didn't sound like it's lacking bass at all. Is that a misnomer?
That's got to be the coolest part about this thing, and I'll let Skip jump in. But When Skip first presented this one to me and the rest of the sales group, I missed that detail. And the first person I talked to about it, we're talking about this guitar, and they're like, "Oh, it's a Grand J. It's kind of big and bulky, and I think I'll pass." And I got off the phone and I thought, "Oh my gosh, this is triple O depth. I mean, that changes everything." So it's really, to me, it's the best of both worlds. You get the grand element of that large cavity, but you also, like in the rest of the 16 series, you get the comfort of a shallower depth. And Skip, any more on how you came up with that idea?
I'll answer it in two ways. The first way is that this guitar body size is big, right? So if it were in its true depth as a Grand Jumbo, it would be so just maybe a little bit too overwhelming and too big. But with that triple O depth, it makes it feel much better in the playing position. I noticed that right away because full transparency, I was a little nervous to see what it felt like once we put a neck in it, strung it up. And it helps that from a comfort level. The second part of it, and this is the best way that I can define it, if it were bigger, the sound becomes a little more loose because it's rosewood, and that helps to drive bass response. The sound is more defined and controlled, but still extremely powerful. So you can drive it as much as you want without the sound falling apart, if that makes sense.
It does, and I always like to tell my customers you can get bass by adding depth to the body, you can get it by adding rosewood, you can get it by adding scallop bracing, you can get it by forward shifting the scallop bracing, and then which 2 or 3 of those things do you want in each guitar? And admittingly, most of the jumbos or most of the 12 strings that I've seen, I don't know if necessity is the right word, but I always think you need to add the bass for all that top end jangle. So many of the strings are, added an octave added higher that you need to keep the guitar bassy so it doesn't sound like you're just picking down by the saddle. But that video, of course, seeing the guitar in person is going to be even better.
There's no lack of bass.
No, I don't think it lacks anything. And in the same way, I don't think that I would like it if it had a bigger body, even for the overtones you would get. And I'll reserve my real opinion until I really play it. But I looking on paper, like triple O 12 string, we'll see. And I didn't dismiss it, but I was very, very impressed by the video.
Cool.
You're gonna like this one, Maury.
Brenden, have you played it?
I have not had a chance to play it. No, with things the way they are, I've only been in the factory at Sycamore once, and that was to get my new phone. So I'm looking forward to playing this one too. In fact, I ordered one for me on my sample account to make sure that I had this available to me if I get to travel this year. Wanted to make sure I had this one available to me.
Cool.
But, this is an awesome guitar, and it's partly and this is my theory. Skip can correct me if I'm wrong, but part of where we're at with instrument design and kind of understanding this from when I was back in R&D is, we've had the fortune of being around so long, and we've had the fortune of developing so many of these things. We're kind of at a point where we can say, what if that went with that? Could we do that? And I know one of the things we've been working on for a while, particularly in the custom shop that Danny Brown was doing, was a small-bodied 12-string, and I think it was on it might have been a triple O platform, could have even been a double O long body.
It was a double O.
Double O.
Yeah, it was a double O. Deep double O. Deep.
Really, really, really cool guitars. But sometimes perception jumps in and says, well, can that small of a body really handle a 12-string? And it did. They were beautiful guitars. The point is that this is the culmination of all of those things coming together and saying, yes, this big body with this depth really, really works. It's wonderful. Nice.
Now let us know in the chat what you think of this new 12-string, and when you say that, let us know if you're already a 12-string player or if you're looking to make that your first 12-string. But that is the only 12-string that I've ever heard of at the NAMM booth. I was walking the show earlier. My legs are tired. It's the only one that I saw. So let us know here at Maury's Music if you do want more information about that one. Next up, let's stay in the bigger size, but I don't mean big as in Dreadnought. Let's go to the GPC 13, and I'm going to ask these guys if I'm pronouncing Zircoti correctly.
That's correct.
Zircoti.
Zircota. What did you say?
That sounds more Italian, Skip. That's like a pizza.
What
do you know about this?
Maxi. That's Maxi.
Tell me about this guitar, guys.
Wonderful addition to the Road series. I'll just hit some of the key features that are obvious, and then again we'll let Skip jump in because he was more involved in the design. One of the things with the Road series is that when we were originally working on these, Skip and the R&D guys were like, "Hey, we need something a little bit more." Need something a little bit more in the rosette, something on the top that pops. So the Road series came out with mother of pearl looking rosettes. Really cool change to just having the black and white in there. Nothing wrong with that, but needed a little extra. So with these, there had been another rosette color in mind for the Road series, and it just didn't make it to the show. So we've been focused on the mother of pearl looking the pattern rosette, and then this one, it's hard to tell in the picture, but these are going to have a green abalone look to them.
Ooh.
So that's a pretty striking difference.
Just correction. That's on the Dreadnought. So the D13, the GPC still has the MOP pattern.
Yes, sorry. But still a nice subtle change to the Road series there. And other than that, Zircoti, however you want to pronounce it, beautiful wood, very, very striking in its appearance. This particular image, I would say, is and this is our image, so it's not Maury's fault. But this particular image is maybe a little bit dark. It's not showing you the contrast as much as it actually pops out on the real guitar. Really.
Correction, Brenden. Everything's my fault.
Everything's your fault. Yes, that's what your wife would say. Exactly. But no, a beautiful wood, and what we mean when we call this out as a fine veneer, that means that we've taken a lot of time to really construct how these pieces go together. So if this were solid Zircoti, we would be adding a 0 to the price. This one comes in very comfortably in the $1,200 to $1,300 range, so it's a great value. But we wanted to make sure when we came out with the first veneer guitars in the Road series last year that we used a Sapelli core, so it's not just throwing some woods together and seeing how they sound. And we certainly could have gone with a less expensive version of this veneer, but we have a reputation to uphold, and we wanted to make sure that sonically they were strong. So this one doesn't disappoint as far as tone goes. This veneer just every bit as good as the Koa veneer that we came out with last year. And one of the questions I had initially for Skip was, well, what are they? Because I couldn't be in the building. I actually called Skip and I said, what are these going to look like in production? Are they going to look like the Zircoti that we all know? And his response was good, and I'll let him touch on that. But just by the nature of Zircoti, they're all going to look pretty striking.
Nice.
So yeah, the question was, which is a valid question, are they all going to look like this, or did you pick the most beautiful piece? So I went to our supplier to look at the actual logs and the slices from the logs. We couldn't stop like ooh and ahhing over, or drooling over how beautiful it was. So when the first 30 guitars were done, because I wanted to look at a quantity of them and inspect them and make sure they were right, I was just amazed. Every one I put down was better than, or every one I picked up was better than the last one I put down. And then I had to run back into the plant because I was still on the restrictions being in the plant, which I still am. And I went back to the truck. There were 20 on one and 10 on another. And I literally looked for a Dreadnought. I grabbed the Dreadnought. I looked for a GPC. I grabbed the GPC. I put them in the soft shell Kion gig bags, and went out and loaded them in my car. I don't know if you want me to share the screen, but I have a bigger picture. But you'll see these. They're gorgeous. The wood, the cathedraling, the color contrast is just absolutely amazing. And what we're trying to do here was really build the same great high quality guitar, performance ready, one that sounds good, and at the same time make it more aesthetically pleasing. The guitars that we were building in this price range, the wood did not look as aesthetically gorgeous as what you see here.
I have a question for you, Skip. To Brendan's point, if I'm understanding it right, it's basically the back is a piece of sapele sandwiched by Zero Cody on both sides.
Correct.
And I don't have three hands, but another hand will be doing it over here. I really wonder, as a guitar player but not a builder, what importance comes from the fact that the inside of the back of the guitar isn't just left to be raw sapele?
Yeah. So. This is just me, and I apologize. I don't want to call Brenden out, but it's actually Kaya, which otherwise is called African mahogany, and we requested that to be the core because we know that woods and sapele, and I see why that's an easy slip because sapele is also a true mahogany. So if we were to use sapele on the inside, it would be very very close, probably discernible, not even discernible, between Kaya, or what's called African mahogany, and sapele. But if you didn't do that, it would probably be looser. It wouldn't hold the sound as much. When you take, it's a sandwich. When you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you put a piece of bread, peanut butter and jelly, and then another piece of bread on it. That stiffens it up. There's a reason why spruce is used for tops. It is a softwood, but it also is very stiff. I mean, Howard Hughes built what was called a spruce goose. It was an airplane back in the day. Wings and propellers were built out of spruce. It's very, very stiff. You want the back and the sides to also have the same thing, the right amount of stiffness, not too much. It's like porridge, just right. And when you take that thin core of zircony, a good core, which provides good tonal properties, and then another piece, and you sandwich it, provides the stiffness that you need. Hope that
Very
answers
interesting.
your question.
It does, and I guess that's a substitute for if you had one solid piece of Zero Cody, the price would quadruple, and we're getting there. We're getting in that same direction with saving some cost. That makes a lot of sense to me too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Maury,
Pick up in it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brenden.
I was going to answer that pickup question, and then I'll answer an earlier one. But you go with that, Skip.
Oh, the pickup in this is an MXT. It's made by Fishman. The T stands for a tuner. It has a tuner inside the sound hole. It's very discreet. You can see it as a player, but you really can't see it. It's not awkward. It's not oversized. It really fits in there nicely. It also has a button where, so if Maury's out gigging on stage, and he finished up a song but felt like he was getting a little out of tune, he could step back, push the button, he could tune up real quick, and when he pushes the button, it mutes his output, and then when he hits it again, it brings it back in, and he's live, ready to go. It also has volume and tone in the sound hole. Brenden?
Thanks, Skip.
Yeah, I wanted to step back a moment and respond to Brian or Batman, and also Rosalind. So Rosalind saying that she has a 12-string, but not a Martin, unfortunately. We're guitar guys. We're glad that you have a 12-string guitar. That's awesome. Yeah. Nothing wrong with having any guitar. And the reality with a 12-string is, for a lot of people, sometimes it's just a second instrument. And that's okay. The 12-string can be a really great recording and performing tool. And then Batman chimes in and says, I'm afraid of tuning and string changes on a 12-string. Yes, there is a difference in it. It requires a little bit more tuning. Not that you necessarily have to do it more frequently, but there are more strings there, and you want to make sure they're there. Part of what makes a 12-string such a beautiful sound is that it's not, you're never going to get it perfectly in tune. In fact, a guitar, that's a whole nother topic we could do for an hour, but a guitar can't be perfectly in tune, right? It would be boring. A 12 string is meant to sound like a symphony. You get 12 violins together, and all of them are just slightly out of pitch, and that's what makes a symphony sound great, right? Same thing with the 12 string. So yes, there is a little bit of a challenge with the additional stringing, a little bit of a challenge with the tuning, but the result, the joy that you can get out of it is just phenomenal. You know, for my analogy as a bass player is, I want to play upright bass. There are many challenges with that. I hate putting strings on my upright bass. But man, when I go through that exercise, which can take over an hour for me because I'm not a professional at it, but it's worth it. So my point is that the joy that you can get out of a 12 string, I think, far outweighs the occasional challenge of putting the strings on. And by the way, if you buy one from Maury's, Maury will personally show up at your house and change your 12 string guitar for you.
That's very true. That's very true. Test that theory. See if it happens.
All the way in Washington, and that's not D.C.
Hey, you know my dedication, guys. Don't put me through the test. I'll embarrass both of you.
He would do it. He would do
And
it.
it's funny. Andrew here, my brother at the store, had finally come around to. He plays a little bit of guitar, but isn't really, he doesn't play nearly as much as I do. He finally got around to doing some restrings, and he's walking around strutting all proud, And I said, "There's some slot heads here too." I said, "So what?" I showed him what a slot head was, and I'm not ever touching that. So, what you should really do is look and see if you can find a used slot-headed 12-string, and then tell us if you still want to buy it, because that's probably the most chaos I would think in the tuning department for a new guitar. But now we're getting off track. I'm going to show the next guitar, but before I do, I want to hand it to Brent. I want to put something in your back pocket. Think of, while we're looking at this next instrument, Brenden and Skip can fight over Jose, because he's on record saying the OM42 might be the only cool Martin. I'll leave that right there. Next guitar is the D13.
How long is this? How long is this live stream?
It's almost over. Let's look at the D13E Ziricote. I believe this might be the one that Skip was mentioning when talking about an interesting, not quite abalone rosette.
Yeah, so Brenden was talking about the MOP pattern. It did pop more, and the reason we selected the MOP is because we wanted to do a survey. Everybody has different likes and dislikes, and when we went to a pattern rosette, we kind of thought maybe we wanted to use abalone. Other people thought we should use MOP, so we put a survey up in our visitor center. We have hundreds of people come through there a day, so we did a survey. We asked the public what they wanted, and the white MOP won out. Personally, I was surprised by that, because I personally like the green abalone, but we had to go with what the consumers wanted, which was the MOP, and it's fantastic. I didn't dislike the MOP, but I probably would have chose the green. Also, Chris Martin hit me up and said, "Why didn't we use something that looked like pearl?" So this is our chance to do that, and what we wanted to do was do it on what is maybe a little bit more traditional body type, and that's the dreadnought. And everything else on the guitar is the same. The appointments are the same. And obviously, this one's not a cutaway. But the main difference that you'll see is that it has a green abalone pattern rosette. And this picture really gives a good illustration of the cathedraling of the grain pattern on the back of this guitar. And like I said, everyone's better than the next one I see. They're just gorgeous.
Nice. Hey, Brenden, let me ask you, maybe you can help some people in the chat figure this out. If you're looking at both of these guitars, what would make one choose the Dreadnought over the GPC or vice versa?
Great question.
Well, I mean, that is a great question. You may just like it could be as simple as the rosette. Maybe you just like the green abalone over the over the MOP. I mean,
Besides
it could be that simple. But no, realistically, it would come down to body size, and it's not to say that one is any better than the other, but the Dreadnought is a little bit larger overall, and somebody might just find a little bit more comfort in a GP body size, and in doing so, you're not sacrificing low end. You know, we think of the Dreadnought and we think of great bass response and, you know, brilliant punchy mids and highs and all that. There is often a misconception that by going with a smaller body, similar to our conversation with the thin body Grand J, that you're going to lose tone, volume, or bass response, and it's simply just not true. Now the guitars are different, and they're going to react a little bit different, and they might just accentuate a little bit different, you know, part of the spectrum, part of the EQ band. But you know, GP is designed for comfort and mobility, and just to be able to get that shoulder around a little bit more easily. But maybe you've grown up always wanting a Dreadnought, or that's what you're comfortable with. So really both are great. I think it would come down to comfort and just personal preference.
Cool. That makes sense to me.
I'll
I want to say hi. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. You first, Maury.
I was going to say hello to a couple people in the chat. Steve Smith is here. I saw G asking a couple of good questions. Bill Cavan and Mark Roman is helping sell these things. So when somebody asks for something in the chat and somebody gives them a price, I want to thank both of you guys. The Refer a Friend program is still active here. And if you guys want to call me later, we'll make you a really temporary employee if you want to help me sell some of these guitars. But Skip, you do have the floor.
Steve, oh, no, I got to interrupt. Is that Steve Smith, the drummer from Journey?
You ask me that every time. I don't think it is.
So I got
one of these days it will be.
I got to laugh at Rosalind. I found your comment funny. Yes, wear safety glasses when putting on strings. But also thank you for the comment about, you know, sandwiching wood. And I think when you get this guitar in your hands with fine veneer, you will be pleasantly surprised. I follow all the forum comments. I keep track of it. It's part of my job and what I need to do, which is know the customer. And, you know, I've heard all of the, oh my God, it's heresy, your Martin guitar, and how could you do this? Our job is to build the best sounding guitars that we can with the best woods that we can. And at $1,200, we can't make it a D45 or a Jose's OM42 that he would like. But what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that with the amount that we can put on the guitar, we're going to put on the best materials that we can find. And if we didn't feel confident that this D13E here that you see is not going to sound like a Martin, ring like a Martin, and make the music that we expect it to, we're not going to build it. So thank you for your comment. And
thank you,
just
Skip.
real quick, the abalone isn't necessarily, I think you mean laminated. It is a composite material that we worked with the supplier to try to get to look like abalone and like MOP. It's not laminated in a sense, it's more of a composite material, if that makes sense.
Skip, is that Abalam?
No, it's actually it's not, and that's Ablam is like pieces of actual pearl laminated. This is a composite material made to look like pearl.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and quick point on that. Every material on the guitar has a conversation about sustainability. So the part of the reason for using these materials on these rosettes is that they're great looking. There's so many new materials that are available that are somewhat true to the originals. Pure abalone or even ablam is a limited resource. There just aren't enough of those out there. They're harvested can be harvested in illegal ways. So the procurement of abalone or any type of pearl natural resource has to be done very carefully. So
That's a
this
great
is an
point,
opportunity.
Brenden. Yeah, I was just going to add that as I was thinking, ablam, as Maury mentioned it, and you followed it up perfectly. Think about ablam like fine veneer. It's actual pieces of pearl laminated that are much thinner so that they can make more. And
Interesting.
it's very similar to fine veneer. You're using thinner pieces, gluing it onto a core that's more readily available, and it prolongs the life of Zirconi.
Nice. Very cool. Next up, I'm not sure if Brenden would call Skip Jr. or Junior would call Skip Brenden. Let's just get to the next guitar. I had something ready there and I tripped over my words. The
It was funny. I liked it.
I'm not very prepared. If I go off script a little bit, I fall off the cliff.
Go for
but
it.
The D Junior 10 Streetmaster, I think I was saying this the other day. I think that the juniors in general are just a home run. But to bring that distressed Streetmaster look to these, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but I thought this might have been coming earlier than 2020, 2021, and I'm really excited to see it happen here.
Cool. I'm going to steal a line from my buddy Ramin Shayegan, who Shayegan, I think is how his name is pronounced.
Zirconi.
I butcher it every time.
It's pronounced
Zirconi.
Zirconi, yeah.
You know, he's a great guy. He's a killer guitar player. Him and Tim Teal and him are lead designers. I'm going to steal a line that he said because we were having a conversation with our person that helps us write copy for marketing. So we go over details of guitars, and I was trying to put something together. This is terrible. And I said, it's like those old pair of shoes you never want to throw out, right? What I meant to say is it's like that old leather glove. And Ramin starts laughing, and he's like, "That's just terrible." Like and he said, "It's more like an old friend." And I was like, that's perfect because it's like that old friend that you don't see a lot, and when you do, it's like it makes your day. And this finish, this Streetmaster finish, it makes the guitar feel like an old friend. Like, man, there you are, right out of the box. Just sort of has that rustic and weathered look, and it's a great way to put it. I got to give him kudos for that.
Yeah, he's a good guy. That's a good team to be designing guitars. I mean, I've known Ramin a few years, and I know Tim Teal a long time, and I couldn't think of, I don't know a lot of other people who would take their place, but I can't think of anybody that I would prefer. I think those guys, when I talk to them at the factory or at the NAMM shows, it's so obvious that they're the two people that should be doing what those two people are doing. And if you see them before I do, please say hi to both of them. Really,
I will do that. I'm having noodles at the Easton Market with them on Friday.
Well, you'll
Both
see them
of
before me then. Brenden, what do you think of these juniors and the way these look?
The Skip just did a mic drop. I mean, I'm having to wipe tears here. I can't say anything better than that. The only thing I'll add is that this is just a logical addition to the whole Streetmaster theme, which has been really strong. And I'm going to steal Ramin's line right from Skip and use it in explaining these, because it really is a great way to depict what this is all about. That's all I got.
Nice. And we should remind our viewers, these don't sound any different with the distressed look. This sounds exactly like the traditional D Junior with the Sapele top. Am I right?
That's correct.
Okay. Very good. On to the next one. We thought that was the smallest thing you're going to see in this show. It's not. This is the OXK Uke. And maybe I should say Ook. Is it ukulele?
I think it's technically
trip up over
ukulele. Yeah.
We're just going to say Zirconi every time we can't pronounce something. All right. I'll tell you the truth, guys. I'm not a uke guy. When I look at these things, I have to kind of learn them as I go. I don't have a lot to add to the conversation with this, but it looks like it would be an excellent choice for a beginner or somebody who might already be a guitar player that wants to see if they kind of like ukulele and they want to get the right brand. They want to get playability, and they want to buy a good feeling ukulele, but not spend as much as they would on their OM42 or on their higher end Martin. Can you guys comment what kind of uke player would be looking for this?
Yeah, you nailed it, Maury. So overwhelmingly, I think with the X series, which this is essentially part of, is these guitars and ukuleles now are often for somebody who, let's say, Jose Garcia gets his OM42, and he loves playing that at home, but now he wants to go out with Maury and do an open mic up in Coaldale up there. He may not want to bring the OM42 out to a gig or an open mic. So anything in the X series, including this ukulele, different price point, little bit more durable as far as the materials go in weathering and all of that. Very comfortable to bring something like this out rather than your expensive instrument. And there are countless people, and Maury, I'm sure you have customers who have their D18, their 28, their 45, but they might buy a Rhodes Series or an X Series guitar to be able to go out and gig with because you plug it in and they sound awesome.
Sure.
So that being said, this ukulele is in the HPL family, the X Series family, and it features that new Koa pattern HPL that we put on the X Series last year. So it's really, really striking Koa. You can really see this one in these small pictures as well. We see the sap lines on the back and the high flame around the top. They're just really beautiful, and they're priced appropriately for anybody.
Yeah, that's what's great about the HPL. You can make the back look amazing because it's not really that wood, and only somebody taking shortcuts would find boring looking. You wouldn't find sapwood. I remember a few years ago I was asking Jimmy in the custom shop, could I make a guitar to look exactly like the GPC Macassar Ebony, and he said you could, but it ain't gonna look like that, and it's gonna be a lot more money. And he was reminding me when you get real wood, you're not picking from the beautiful picture of the most beautiful wood. You're going to be picking real stuff. And he really, really carefully, politely said, just you can go down that rabbit hole, but you might reject the first 6 pieces that we'd find. So I think it's a good point to remind people the value and the beauty that you see on an X Series instrument, ukulele or not.
Jimmy in the custom shop, polite. I mean, he's so polite. Like he's like overly polite. He's a super nice guy.
He is. Like
He's
even politer.
Great
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
And he's a Cowboys fan, so he's that going for him too.
Oh, now the comments are
Well,
going to come in. Be
now
careful.
now we digress.
Now let's get those comments going. Now that I said that, right?
So the Batman just asked a great question about HPL, and Skip and I. And people who work for Martin, we tend to throw some of these terms around, forgetting that they may not be universally understood. So, specifically, Batman's asking if it's made from Koa sawdust. Sort of in a way, not from Koa sawdust. And Skip will step in and correct me on any of this, but HPL stands for high pressure laminate. And it's essentially, there's some wood fibers in there and some resins and things that make the core material. And then you put a layer on top, which has your essentially a photograph. So that's why these OXK ukes look so nice. It's a photograph of, and there's more than one photograph, so they're not going to all look exactly the same. But it's essentially a photo image put onto the high pressure laminate material to give it that really, really great look. So it's not sawdust, it's a little bit more than that. It is an engineered material. There is some wood fiber in it, but I wouldn't call it wood, and hence the reason we just refer to it as HPL. Skip, anything more on that?
No, you nailed it.
All
Mic
right, well,
drop.
I learned from you. So.
Mic drop. I can learn from you guys. You guys are a good team. I feel like I'm just the moderator here, and you guys are getting in a groove now. And we can drop Tim Teal's name again when you say the X Series, which I believe, the X Series turned 20. Was it last year or the year before?
Last year, yeah.
How about that?
So you gotta hand it to Tim Teal because I don't know if I've ever met a guy that's able to let things shed off him as well as he does, because he's been around for a long time. He's been making great guitars for a long time, but there's a lot of people in this world, and there's a lot of people with opinions of what we do, and he's able to rise above the people that sort of constantly critique what's being done and still put out awesome products and come up with great designs. many people don't even know this about him. I mean, the guy's got a mini CNC machine, that he programs and can run. He can build guitars. He's not just a poser. He's a doer, but at the same time, super creative. And I appreciate how he's able to, even when maybe it didn't come out quite the way he did it, to keep forging forward and keep trying to do better and better each time. And look, him and Ramin and Fred Green on the SC13 that we did last year, not to sidetrack, they come out with great products, and we, some of us get to give a little bit of input, but I admire what he's been able to do for such a long time.
Amen.
And and the other piece of that is part of the reason Tim was looking at HPL in the beginning was, he was tasked with coming up with some alternative. This whole thing we talk about with sustainability and FSC and all that stuff, those are new buzzwords, relatively new, but the concerns about wood supply have existed for a long time. And I heard Chris say at one point, this is not a direct quote because it was a long time ago, but I remember Chris Martin saying at some point, we need to continue to look at things like HPL and other sustainable materials, rich light, things like that, because he's the keeper of an amazing 184 year tradition, and he's retiring this year. So if you don't know that on the call, Chris is retiring from the company. He still has a role in the company, and he does have an heir, but she's a little bit too young to make a decision. She hasn't made her decision yet. Hopefully her decision is to continue on that tradition. Point is that I heard Chris say at some point, I want to, as the keeper of this baton, I want to make sure that I have something to pass on to my daughter should she make the decision, or maybe it's Skip and I may run in the company. I don't know. But whoever ends up running the company, he wants to make sure that there's something to pass on. And that means that there is wood available, and there's also other sustainable materials that can be used. So it's a really viable thing. HPL and the X Series doesn't stick around for 20 years if it doesn't make sense. That's a long time.
Well said.
And it speaks to the how serious it is, because I remember talking to Dick Boak 4 or 5 years ago, long before he retired, and he was saying that Martin's not going to wait until all the wood's gone to start thinking, well, what can we use now? They want to, by the time, you talk about already Brazilian rosewood and some of the other stuff, by the time the stuff that you think is going to be here forever, like mahogany and East Indian, Martin wants to be, and I'm not speaking for them, but his opinion was, we want to be as good at making guitars out of unknown stuff as we are, because there's going to be a time, it's a finite resource, so you don't want to wait. And like you said, buzzword recently, Martin, it's pretty obvious to me, they're not just, one guitar every couple of months, and now here comes the NAMM show, we have to do another one. They seem extremely invested in getting really good at using, non-traditional materials to just head it off at the pass, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'll take these last two questions, and
good.
Then I'm going to get prepared to jump off. But does it sound like Koa from Batman? It's not Koa, right? It's the process that Brenden explained. But what we can say is it sounds like a Martin ukulele, or the X Series guitars that have HPL Koa sound like a Martin. True solid wood Koa is going to add those extra little levels of sound that you're looking for, as opposed to HPL. We're not going to go out and say and fabricate that when we use HPL that it sounds just like mahogany if it's mahogany patterned.
Sure.
That would be unfair. But what we will stand behind is that it sounds like what you would expect a Martin ukulele to sound like. And then to Bob Dobson, who has asked about how's production going in our Navajo plant, as well as can be expected. We are working in Nazareth with only manufacturing folks. And it's the same in Mexico. But we're getting production out. Our employees are working in a safe manner. We follow all of the guidelines that we follow, the CDC guidelines in the United States. We follow in our facility in Mexico. We always do that. If we have certain rules and regulations that we abide by in Nazareth, or training instructions, or workbenches, or equipment, we try to make sure very diligently that we do the same thing for our folks in Navajoa. So thank you for asking. I've been there a number of times. They do a great job. If you, other than they all have more hair than I do, and a much better tan, if you land yourself inside there, it feels like you're at Martin Guitar, because the benches look the same, the equipment's the same, the painting scheme, and the way that we do the work is like you're at Martin Guitar, but it's in Mexico.
Well said.
Yeah. And just yes, very well said. And just to add to that, that the production in Mexico for Martin Guitar is longer standing than Skip or I's tenure at Martin. So I think we're at 31 years in that facility, which is pretty amazing. So there's good stuff going on.
Well, speaking of amazing, I do want to say thank you to Skip. It sounds like Skip has to be somewhere before we are, so I want to say
busy guy.
You're very cool to have jumped on with us. Brenden and I have a couple more guitars to talk about, but I do want to ask the chat to join me in thanking Skip for a very, very informative afternoon. We were told you have stories, and you brought some A games, so thanks for doing that with us.
You brought the A game.
Hey,
thanks, Skip.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Where's that applause, Maury? Where's that applause?
Whoa!
Here we go. Thank you very much, Skip.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Peace out.
Good night, Skip.
Now, what do we fill that square with? Brenden and I were talking. We think that's Sigmund the Sea Monster from that old cartoon. So if in the chat, if you could let us know what we should name number 2 now that Skip's gone. You can't name it Skip because that would be lazy. But we do have 2 more guitars to talk about. So interesting tidbit. I'm going to put this on the screen. And I was going to tell you that this is the T1K Streetmaster, but I just found out earlier today from my Handsome Martin rep, there's no K. So this is the T1.
There's no K. There's
no
K.
So
hey, we're it's a great company. There's so many wonderful people. There's great builders there, and we have a lot of fun. But we are human, so we make mistakes once in a while. There was an early mistake in the naming convention of this guitar, because we have a T1K ukulele, which is a tenor uk with solid koa top, back, and sides. So this one became the T1K Streetmaster, but hopefully, as you can tell by looking at these photos, even with the Streetmaster finish on this instrument, that is not koa. So it is a different wood. These are top, back, and side solid sapele, which, as Skip mentioned earlier, is in the mahogany family. So essentially a mahogany tenor ukulele. And we already talked about the Streetmaster finish and how cool that is. It made sense to bring it over to an ukulele that is at a great price point as well.
Brenden, can you tell me where this sits in the lineup as far as little baby ukes and then the biggest ukes? Where does this one actually fit in the size scheme?
Oh yeah, good question. So you have the little O size ukulele, like the OXK. And then you get into concert size, just a little bit bigger. And this is a tenor, which is a little bit larger than the koa. And I'm not going to pretend to be an ukulele expert, other than my pronunciation of the name. But each of those instruments has traditionally, and then also in modern day, often have different tunings. So if you were to learn, for example, O size or soprano size ukulele, and then go and pick up a tenor, you might find some different chord positions that you'd have to learn. So they're all a little bit different, and the slightly larger size lends itself to the tenor tunings, just to give it a little more oomph.
Very
It's a very
cool.
popular size for.
Thank you. Let us know in the chat if you already play uke, and if you don't, which one of these ukes would you probably want to try on? We'd love to know. I take for granted everybody watching the program is a guitar player. That's probably not even accurate, but I am curious to see if you guys have an interest in ukes, or if you really do play. The last instrument we're going to show you is probably, if I'm remembering correctly, it's probably the most expensive, maybe the highest priced ukulele. The concert uke is next. This is the last offering from the NAMM 2021 that Martin's bringing to market that we're going to get here at Maury's Music. And I think, at least on looks, this one really does it for me. And I'm going to admit again, Brenden, I really don't know uke, so let me know why.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think I like this one just from the pictures, or would I also feel like that in person?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, those pictures are phenomenal, and these are really doing it justice. The lighting's good, and you can see all the nuances of the mahogany. Beautiful instrument. This is more of a traditional ukulele, what you might expect to have seen in the past. And just to note, Martin was on the forefront of the ukulele production back in, I think it was 1917-ish, when we first added ukuleles to the catalog. So we've been making ukuleles for a long time. In fact, there was a point where the company was called Martin, CF Martin guitars and ukuleles and mandolins.
Huh.
This one is the purest of the mahogany, because this is all FSC certified. So beautiful pieces of probably old growth mahogany on there. We see a little bit of pearl in the rosette. And I don't have the actual specs in front of me, but my guess would be that is ab lamb. I think at this price point everything would be ab lamb. So it's actual abalone shell, but laminated like the veneers that we talked about earlier to help protect the natural resources. But what the look you get is just phenomenal. And a little bit of abalone against mahogany is a beautiful look. And then you also contrast that with the black of the fingerboard and bridge, and those tuners too, those banjo style tuners, which is more of a traditional ukulele tuner. And these types of tuners, like somebody mentioned earlier, with I'm a little shy on the 12-string tuning. People have often been shy on these types of tuners in the vintage instruments because their accuracy was sometimes a little bit less to be desired. So these newer style tuners are much more accurate than they used to be, and help quell some of that concern about tuning ability.
Yeah, I remember Fred Green talking on the live chat about from the front of the headstock, it looks like they're the old friction pegs, but behind the scenes, it's just made to look that way, and it's really not only a little bit better, but probably rivals some of the, I forget what the ratio was, but it's only looking like a friction peg, and it's not that at all.
Exactly.
So those people that are afraid of, Laurie's cello too, with you tune the string up and you got to kind of make the friction hold it steady, and you never get it quite right. That's not the case here. These things really do the hard work, turn the headstock around, and even if you don't look at it, there's a lot of precision there that's just meant to look like it's old timey.
Right. So you just gave away to the answer to one of the pre-show questions. About what?
See, there
I shouldn't have drawn
again.
attention to it.
Let's start it over.
I didn't know that one, by the way. That was good.
Oh yeah.
So if you were paying attention to the pre-show questions, Maury just answered it.
Yep, and let us know in the chat if you got any of those stupid trivia questions right. I have 5 or 6 of those screens that I try to recycle every so many months, and then for 3 months in a row I'll play the same one, and then people act all smart because they watch it every Wednesday or every Monday and they start learning them. But yeah, we kind of let something happen that is a little bit unfair. Earlier in the program, Jose was quoted to say the OM42 is the only cool Martin, and I was going to let Brenden and Skip fight over this. Skip's gone. So Brenden, what could you say to people that want to tell you the only cool Martin is an OM42? I'd love to hear your official response, speaking for the company, of course.
Wow. How do I? Can I defer to Skip? Can I phone a friend?
You sure can. Let's get Skip back on here. Skip, could you please? You know,
He has a lot more hair in this picture than he did.
I think he looks good there. It's like a silhouette kind of thing. This show takes about 3 hours to produce, and 2 hours of it is graphics. So there's no way I could even get creative and make that look different than that. But you know, he looks a little bit better here because you really get to see him. You know, but I do want to thank Skip. I want to thank Brenden. This is really a big deal for me to be able to connect with you guys, and you know, help our viewers and our customers get some kind of an early education on these new models. I know it doesn't make up for seeing good videos, and definitely not the same as going through the factory lobby and playing these. I do want to promise you guys on camera, I will be getting these instruments. I will be doing some real demos. All the stuff that you're used to us doing here at Maury's Music, it's coming. It's just not going to be as fast. If you have any specific interest in one or two of these instruments, whether they're the ukes or the guitars, please do let us know. If it isn't in the chat, maybe you're watching this on the replay. If so, you are from the future, which is really cool. And you can always email me, Maury at maurysmusic.com. If you have any questions for Martin, they're really active on their Facebook page. I'm not sure of the Instagram and Twitter, but I've seen a lot of the Martin forums, and the official Martin Facebook page is a great place, a great resource. After the fact, if you guys want me to tell you Brendan's cell phone, I can give some of you that information. If you guys want to see more pictures of number 2, I shouldn't call her Skip anymore, but I think I did. I did my best to see if this would. Let me just show you one more page here, because it took a little bit of a little time to figure it out. But I think equals we weren't sure if Skip was going to make it on time, and certainly didn't know if he was going to stay the whole time. So we did have this ready, and you know, maybe we do this again for Summer NAMM. I'll just know whenever I talk to Brenden and Skip, I'm going to have duos and trios and all the graphics just at the ready. So if these guys throw me a curveball, we don't have to show you Sigmund the Sea Monster. Or I'll just have a picture of Sigmund ready. Brenden, I do want to sincerely say thank you for all your time. If anybody guys have any more questions about these Martin guitars, please visit us on the web. It's www.maurysmusic.com. Once you get there, you can click on the Martin logo, and you'll be able to see the Martin's new models. But once again, big thank you to Brenden. Any final parting words for us, Brenden, before we sign off for the evening?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Maury. I do want to address Bill Cavan, just because he made a comment earlier, and he's now apologizing for it. And I just wanted to say, no apologies needed. Bill, he had made a comment about the Reimagined series, and asked why we weren't making any old style D18s. The Reimagined, so the D8, I mean, this could be a half-hour conversation, so maybe you should give Bill my number. But real quickly, the D18 went through so many variations over the years. You know, 1937 to 1939, and then it just kept becoming different things, and specs changed a lot of times because of global activity. So wars happened, things had to change. So to say old style 18 is a little bit of an ambiguous statement, only because there are so many old style 18s. The Reimagined D18 is the culmination of all the best specs from the D18, and we really feel like it's a strong representation of what the D18 has always meant. You know, harkening back to some of those traditions, but also keeping it very modern. And the other piece of that is that there is an authentic series, Bill, that I'd encourage you to look at or talk to Maury more about, where the actual specs from some of those years are available in an 18. So there's a D18 1939, which 1939 has the old specs for a D18 in it. So I'd encourage you to take a look at one of those if you are interested in an older style 18 instrument. But other than that, thank you everybody. Great commentary. Everything I expected from Maury's customers, and Maury for putting this together and inviting Skip along. And you know, I know the challenges of not being able to come into the factory and get your hands on these things. makes it a little yes, a little strenuous. But I hope that for you and for your customers that this was at least a placeholder alternative that that gets some information out there and some understanding before you're able to get a hold of these guitars and do your own filming. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you too, and that's the best we could hope for. If we don't want to not talk about these guitars, this release is too special to just put it off until the guitars do show up. So thank you to you, Brenden, and everybody at Martin for letting this happen. Thank you again, Skip, and thank you guys for allowing us to talk about Martin guitars all this while without playing them or showing them to you. I know,
Yeah, weird.
Coming to YouTube looking for this stuff, maybe not having the guitars here is a bummer, but we didn't want to let it stop us from talking about them, and I appreciate you guys taking the time. You know.
Awesome.
So yeah, thank you again, Brenden. I'm going to send you guys home with some more information on our website, and I'll let you guys listen to one more song from Spoon Phillips, Lost in Haunted Ways. Do you have this yet, Brenden?
I don't, but I was really digging it. So
you will now. So you are our
I'm a
winner.
longtime Spoon fan.
I didn't want to say it at the beginning of the show. I know you and Spoon are friends in real life, but whichever one of you guys leaves first doesn't get this CD. So next time you see Skip, tell him not to skip. So.
All right.
Guys, thank you for everything.
Thank you, everybody.
See you guys next time.